let's review some essential geometric terms. You can refer to your textbook 1.1 and 1.2 sections for points, lines, planes, and segments. A point has no dimension and is represented by a dot. That means when we draw it, we usually draw a dot. Technically, you never see a point, but we draw it as a dot. We write it using the words point and then the capital letter for what the point is called. Always capital letter only. A line has one dimension. It is made up of points, or we can call it a set of points. It's represented, so when we draw it with two arrowheads, represented by two arrowheads. And that's supposed to represent the fact that it is never ending. It goes on forever. So what does that look like? Here's a line, the two arrowheads to show it goes on forever, and some points on the line to help us label it. Now I'm going to label it in a couple different ways, with a lowercase letter L or with the capital letters representing the point. So we could name this line L by using the lowercase letter that's next to the line, or capital letters A and B with the line hat on it. Both of them mean line AB or line L. A plane has two dimensions because it is made up of a set of lines. Kind of see a pattern here with the point, the line, the plane. When we draw it, it looks like we're drawing the floor or a wall. That's how we represent it. It is also never ending. But it's difficult to draw arrows on how we draw a plane. Here's often the way you'll see a plane. Maybe it looks like we're drawing a parallelogram, but a parallelogram ends. A plane doesn't, never ends. So sometimes we name it just with a capital letter in the corner of where we drew the plane ending, even though it never ends. Sometimes we name it by the points that are contained in the plane. So we may write this as plane M, or we may write it as plane A, B, C with capital letters for the points that are in the plane. Collinear points are points on the same line. Look at the word. Line is in the word collinear. Co, like your co-worker, you work together. So these are lines that are together. Here's a line, and on that line, I'm going to place points that are collinear. A, B, and C are points that are collinear. Now I don't actually have to show the line for the points to be collinear. Here are 3 points that if I connected them would make a line. Points D, E, and F are also collinear because if I connected them, they would make a line. Coplanar points, what word do you see in there? Again, the prefix co for together and then part of the word plane. These are points that lie on the same plane. Now they don't have to be collinear because a plane isn't lined up. So let's show coplanar points. Point A, point B, point D. These are coplanar points. Again, I don't have to show the plane for them to be coplanar. Here's point C, point Q, and point L. These are also coplanar points. A line segment is part of a line. It has 2 endpoints because unlike a line that goes on forever, a segment does not. Here's a picture of a segment. 2 endpoints, G and H, we could call it. And I could write it as segment GH. Notice the hat doesn't have any arrows because a segment doesn't have any arrows. Or I could call it segment HG when I name the segment. The end point is just what it sounds like. It is a point that is at the end of something. So an end point is the point at the end of a segment, like from the picture above, G is an endpoint, H is an endpoint. It's also a point at the end of a ray. Let's talk about what a ray is. A ray has one endpoint, and then it goes on forever in the other direction, in one direction. Now they can be tricky how to name them, so I'm going to show you a couple different rays. Here's a ray that has endpoint J, and another point I'm going to label on the ray just so it's easy to name that. This is ray JK. Notice the hat looks like a ray. Endpoint is at J, so letter J comes first. I'm going to draw another ray for you. The endpoint, I'm going to call it Q, and another point I'm on it, I'm going to call it P. This is ray QP. Not PQ, we don't have to go alphabetically, we have to start at the end point. Remember, the end point is at the end of the segment or the ray. So we always start at the end point when we name the ray. Start at the end point. This is not ray PQ, it is ray QP. Opposite rays, when we draw them going in opposite directions, they make a line. I'm going to draw two rays for you. Here's a ray, ST, ST. ST has endpoint S. Now I'm going to draw its opposite ray, going in the opposite direction. Ray ST went right, ray SR goes left. So ray SR is opposite to ray ST. Ray ST and ray SR are opposite rays. Notice that they have the same endpoint, and then it can make a line. An intersection you can think of like a crossing, like when the roads meet, when they cross. An intersection is a point or a set of points that are in common. Lots of ways to show an intersection. Here's an intersection of two lines. These two lines are meeting at this point. I'm going to call this point P. Point P is the intersection point here. Here's another way to show an intersection. I'm going to draw a plane, and I'm going to show a line intersecting this plane. Now to show that it's going behind the plane, I'm going to make it dashed. There you go, and coming out the other end. Here's an intersection point. I'm going to call that point Q. Point Q is where the line intersects the plane. I could also draw planes intersecting. Here's a plane, and here is another plane. Kind of like the two walls in your room. If you look at where the edge of the walls are, they meet at a line. This time the intersection is a line. I'm going to call this line M. Line M is the intersection of the two planes. What does it mean to be between? When 3 points are collinear, remember what we said is collinear. I'll draw a picture for you again. And I'm going to draw 3 points that are collinear. 3 points are collinear. Then 1 point we say is between the others. Which is the point that's between the other points? That's right, point Y. So we would say Y is between points X and Z, like that. Now the segment addition postulate is a really important one that we want to remember and use frequently. Here's how we can write it. B is between points A and C if and only if, remember your shortcut way to write that, AB plus BC equals AC. What does that mean? Let's draw a picture. On this picture, I'm going to label points A and B and C. Notice they don't have to be equally spaced. The first part of the postulate says B is between points A and C. Well, here's B right here. And then if that's the case, AB, this part right here, this is AB, AB, and then the little segment next to it, this part right here, BC. If I add them together, then it makes the whole way across from A to C. Think about when you're measuring distances. If I measure part of the distance, but my ruler runs out, I can make a mark and measure the rest of the way across, and then I know how long it is altogether.